to the STC TechComm Roadshow. And we're all very excited about this, even if it looks like we're unprepared. But the origins of the roadshow are really basically in 2012. From the New York Metro chapter, we looked around and we couldn't figure out where to have an award show for everybody or have an awards dinner in I-95 or all the way to Connecticut, or do you miss out on the Long Island people? So we started doing this virtual TechComm roadshows all the way back then, and we would love for this to be a tradition among all of us who are doing the competitions. Our sponsors for tonight, STC Touchstone, which is the Berkeley, San Francisco, Sacramento, Silicon Valley chapters, and our alliance of the STC Regional TechComm Competition, all the way from Atlanta, New England folks, New York Metro, Philadelphia Metro, Rochester, South Central Texas, their brand new name, and the Washington, D.C., Baltimore chapter. So welcome, everybody, and we are delighted you could join us. What's happening? Our presenters will take 10 minutes to present, and we think we have 5 minutes for Q&A for everybody, for all the presenters. We have 6 presenters today. Unfortunately, Jamie West of HP cannot join us, so we're down to 6 presentations. Kindly type in your questions into chat because we can't give audio to everybody, and audio will be given primarily to the presenters. But in the general Q&A, we will open up the mic for everybody. And if you want to speak during the general Q&A, do dial into the, well, that's the wrong phone number. To dial into the Thomson Reuters number. Okay. And my co-hosts for tonight are, of course, Julie. Thank you for helping us at the really bad time. And also Carolyn Klinger from the Washington, D.C., Baltimore chapter. So, Julie, take it away.
Thank you, Malou. Okay, just a little bit of housekeeping. You'll have to mute yourselves. I'm not muting you, so just if you don't mind doing that, that'd be great unless you're speaking. And if you want to speak, if you're one of the presenters, there should be a share button, a share menu at the top of the screen. You can share content and show your screen. If you don't see that, if you put your mouse below, should be my picture or my initials in the middle of the screen right now. If you put your mouse below that, you'll see kind of an upload looking button, and that should be able to share your content as well. So here we go. Stefan, you're up first. So first we have Stefan Kostial from Information Builders, who's going to be presenting iWay and Omni Information Center redesign. We're very excited to have this presentation. Information Builders has been not only a frequent competition participant, but a competition awardee at both regional and international levels, including winning Best of Show in 2017-2018. We feel a nice kinship with Information Builders in our chapter because they are always very keen in joining the competition in some way to participate. So congratulations on your awarded distinction. There are multiple contributors to this particular entry: Francis Gambino, Stefan Kostial, Sarah Bucalato, Nancy Silva, but Stefan is going to be doing the presentation for us. So go ahead, Stefan.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Is that a yes?
Yes. Yes.
Certainly, yes.
Okay, excellent. Great. Good evening, everybody. My name is Stefan Kostial, Director Technical Content Management, which is part of Worldwide Customer Services. And I will be presenting the iWay and Omni Information Center redesign, which won an award of distinction in the 2018-2019 STC TechComm competition. So in 2017, the Corporate Information Builders website was redesigned and restructured based on a new marketing company-wide initiative. Technical Content Management, which I'll refer to as TCM, saw this as a good opportunity and timing to review the existing iWay and Omni Information Center, including feedback that had been received from customers, internal staff, and propose a new redesign. So the goals and targets that we laid out was to evaluate the existing technical libraries. And what I mean by that is prior to this information center for iWay and Omni, we had technical libraries for iWay and Omni which were disparate and disconnected, and that was the nature of the evolution of the documentation and the software, and it had worked up to a certain point. But it came to a point where now we needed to consolidate the content based on solutions, so that was a driving factor as well. Another goal and target was to synchronize design with the new corporate rebrand. We want to be in sync and have a single voice and vision to be just basically in line with the new IBI rebrand, which is very important. We examined and identified target audience and users. Create a working team using agile principles was also a goal and target for this project. We had to identify key stakeholders across information builders in the various divisions so that we had consensus and buy-in on the project and the redesign concepts. We wanted to minimize downtime and not bring any system down or offline for customers and users. And we collaborated with marketing and product management throughout. Gathering feedback throughout the cycle is important, and last but not least, listen to the customer or customers. It's very important and sometimes overlooked, because in the end, it's the customer who, basically is using this information center. We want to make sure that we are satisfying their needs. So what is iWay and Omni? So iWay and Omni are designed to deliver comprehensive data integration, data quality, and master data management (MDM) solutions on premises or in the cloud. iWay is a middleware technology, enables rapid access to timely, accurate data across systems, processes, stakeholders. It's enterprise-level solutions. It delivers comprehensive capabilities that allow organizations to optimize business processes and enhance real-time decision-making. Omni provides comprehensive unified tool set that ensures consistency, uniformity, and accuracy across all critical data assets. It's a powerful and scalable multi-domain MD environment, allowing organizations to enable effective data governance by rapidly creating and efficiently maintaining a single view of their core entities. So iWay and Omni, right now as we speak, many of the solutions that Information Builders provides, iWay and Omni are both ingredients or key elements of solutions. So I want to define the challenge that we face. As I mentioned, in 2017, the corporate IBI website was redesigned based on a new marketing initiative. And below is a screenshot of how that appeared. On the right is a screenshot of how one of the technical libraries I referred to appeared. And, simply, it was a simple website where, or library, if you will. Left pane allowed users to browse through titles and categories and groups. In this case, this screenshot is was the iWay 7.0 technical library, and selecting document would preview it or review it in the main panel on the right. And as you see, there were links to resources on sort of a mini homepage there. So who is target audience? We have many, the audience consisted of many individuals and members. So customers who have purchased iWay and or Omni software were the key audience. But in addition to that, field staff, sales, account management, solution architects, engineers, technical area managers across IBI, big part of the audience. Internal users, customer support advanced technical support, product management, education, marketing. So really, our documentation is used by many individuals across the organization, internally and externally. So we had to make sure that our new solution was going to satisfy the needs of all these users. So after carefully listening to all the input, we first compiled a list of key features that were must-haves in the new redesign. So this drove the whole redesign process, and we had come up with a sort of list which included incorporating the latest corporate branding, streamlining navigation and the user experience throughout, promoting the placement of how-tos, which are formerly known as use cases, improving the search functionality. We had received feedback from customers that there were times where it was difficult to find documentation. So we decided to leverage WebFocus Magnify, one of our products, to really empower the search functionality. Integrating feedback from corporate design and marketing during our development process was key. So what was the process and strategy? So this slide here provides a high-level overview of the process and strategy that we defined. We created a working team who implemented agile methodologies to ensure development and QA cycles were focused on schedule and able to adapt to changing workloads, priorities, and ongoing release cycles. It wasn't in an ideal situation, we can all stop what we're doing and focus on one project for a couple of months and give all our attention to that. But as we were doing this redesign project, there were additional release cycles going on, and we had to really juggle and shift priorities on an ongoing basis to ensure all needs were met. So we also minimized downtime. We decided to develop a staging server for continuous development, and this is what allowed us to show previews and prototypes to stakeholders and customers. So we created a working team, we identified stakeholders, we developed a prototype and review in June of 2018, and we had unveiled this to customers at our Information Builder Summit, who previewed the redesigned Nani Information Center, and we received great feedback, and basically that allowed us to continue on our path to launch. So one of the last steps was to obtain stakeholder consensus, and then we launched in Q3 of 2018. Some of the tools that we used included Adobe Photoshop for all graphical elements, Adobe Acrobat. The content management system that we currently use is Astoria, and from there we had published all the documentation that was required. We had to republish everything. Jira was used by the working team to create tickets and basically work amongst ourselves. TEKNOS Camtasia for video development. As I mentioned earlier, WebFocus Magnify for the search, SQL Server, and last but not least, many gallons of coffee and pounds of chocolate were used. And here's a look at the final redesign. Here's the home page, and as you can see, it's quick and it's broken out into three main areas right at the top. Technical content, the how-tos, and videos, with a search area in the upper left corner. And as you scroll down, you will come across IWA 8, which was a major release of IWA, and this provides a quick high-level summary of key features. And I'll show you quickly through our demo, but I just wanted to show you the screenshots first. Technical content page, and here, this is a really key development in our new redesign. So previously, as I mentioned, we had technical libraries, one for IWA and Omni, and from this page, you can easily toggle between Iway and Omni. And I will go ahead and just quickly go to the browser and show this. Can everyone see this?
No, I think when you show your content, you're only showing that PowerPoint. That you might do share again, and you should be able to select, I can't remember what it's called, but you should be able to see what it is that you want to share.
I'll grab on the top.
We can see.
Okay. Okay, so here's the new redesigned homepage, as I mentioned earlier, broken out into 3 main areas. As you scroll down, Iway 8, key features and highlights are brought into the homepage. Omni, master data management, below that. Links to services and support. Links to customer education and user groups. Feedback tab has been incorporated as well. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the key areas, the technical content, is broken out, as you can see, into these tabs. So quickly I can toggle between Iway and Omni content in a click. And previous to this redesign, these existed in different URLs and libraries. So at a glance, users can select, for example, release notes. They can go and drill down into the area of interest by product within Iway, and documentation is delivered as PDF or HTML. Omni is here, follows the same model. Back to the home page. The central area here is the how-tos, formerly known as use cases. And these are basically standalone techniques and tips that TCM worked on with product management based on customer feedback in terms of product level of what they want to see in terms of functionality. And this is a very popular area of the Learning Center here. These are tutorials and how-tos. Some of them include sample files that are provided as zip archives. And we have some videos here and tutorials as well. Search has been optimized as mentioned. Focus Magnify has been incorporated. Here's an example. You can get word cloud results. You can sort by release. So this is much more powerful and allows users to view their results in a more granular fashion than was previously available.
Stefan, I think we are about to run up into time.
Thank you very much. That's perfect timing. I'm pretty much finished with what I want to show. If there are any questions.
One quick question. There was one question that was posed. I'm going to, from Bobby, and the question is, what rules did you follow regarding scrolling? What would be too much, for example?
In terms of scrolling, in what, can you clarify that? In which area, in general, or under what area of the Learning Center?
In general.
Pretty much, we decided to, ensure all the key areas were quickly accessible. As you can see, the homepage doesn't scroll for too much. It really follows the corporate level of scrolling as well. It's not endless. Just pretty much nothing too excessive. That's all I can say. It'll be compatible also with mobile devices. And we just wanted to highlight, for example, 3 key areas that were quickly accessible.
That's great. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you for the presentation. Thanks for your time. That was actually really interesting. Moving on.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Carolyn, would you like to do the next introduction?
I would like to introduce the Salesforce team. Salesforce frequently enters STC competitions, including both the former Washington, D.C. Baltimore competition and the Touchstone competition in Northern California in recent years. Into the Touchstone competition last year, Quick Start, Einstein Analytics Learning Map, won an award of Distinguished Technical Communication for reasons that will likely be clear to you once you review it at EinsteinAnalyticsLearningMap.com, which is on our event page. Contributors to this work product were Phil Choi, Karen Quastler, Katie Augustus, Paul Sun, and Raymond Sudeto. Colleague Melissa Colm entered it into the Touchstone competition. We'll now hear from contributors Phil Choi and Katie Augustus.
Hi there. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, and you should be able to see our screen, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Let's get started here.
Great.
You want to kick us off?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Augustus, and I have with me the esteemed Phil Choi. Yep, that's it.
I'm not that steamed.
Esteemed like. I'm a product manager on the Einstein Analytics team here at Salesforce, and Phil.
Yeah, I work on what we call the content experience team, and we work on product documentation across the board, including video and Trailhead and help and all that stuff.
And we're here to talk to you guys today about our learning map. So the team that I run is our onboarding and education team, and we began our journey, I guess, 3 years ago now. And my team came in a time where we were really taking a good hard look at our education journey for our customers. We were seeing that we were just kind of abandoning them from the in-product experience. And while we were creating a ton of content around the interwebs and through our help portals and whatnot, our customers were kind of struggling to find that. And so we developed this learning map, and forgive the GIF that's going to be on loop for the next forever and ever. But what you'll see is that it's a dynamic, interactive experience. It's designed like a map that actually guides a user through the product journey. And at each node of the journey, we've included the relevant content for the key actions that a user takes in that. We also supercharged it in the footer there with a bunch of other links to other portals that we have developed, like our community, our events pages. And it's as we go through the rest of these slides, we're going to talk through what was really the theory behind this organization and how did we come up with this design and this sort of interactive experience.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll just take this guy. But
sure.
Where we really started was that we realized we had so much great content. We had help documentation, we had videos, we had webinars created by PMs, we had a community, we had content that was created by all of our customers.
Developer portals, release notes portals, all the separate portals.
And it kind of looked like this. It was a big smorgasbord of great places to go. And the biggest problem was that our customers couldn't really find it. Their one-stop shop was all of a sudden becoming, because it was the only way that they could actually search across all of the assets that we were creating and find them in one place. And this was actually a huge detriment to us because we felt like we were creating all of these sort of unified or these individual types of experiences, but we weren't making it easy for our customers to actually get there and find what they need. So along comes Phil to the rescue. How did you think about it, Phil?
To be honest, it's still like this. So instead of trying to solve the portal problem, which most big companies have, we don't own all those portals. What we could do is provide experience. So what we did is we took a look at what we did well, what we had, and we started to see a gap. So we've been in the business of in-app prompts for a few years now, and Katie's team's been helping us build those mechanisms. So awareness, hey, there's bears on this trail. We bring that up at the right place, but that's very context specific, and it's more of a push model. And our bread and butter is really the how-to. So the tasks, implementation, things that are context sensitive to a particular point in the feature. And then we have a ton of reference. So we have this very powerful API or program. Here's everything you need to know about it in a reference format. But what we really found is that we don't do a good job of orienting the customer to all of our content and also their business journey. Meaning it's not about the feature that you're using or the product that you bought or necessarily even the task that you're looking at, but kind of where are we going in this product with my business? And it's bigger than just me as an admin or as a partner developer. And this is where the learning map comes in. It's helping you get ready for your journey. Instead of solving
I can hear. It's no video.
Yeah, no, it's just on the phone. Yes.
Oh, okay. That's what the issue was. I was still trying to go online.
Somebody needs to mute.
The phone.
Okay.
Can you hear us okay? So from all of these other portals or in-app mechanisms, we link to the learning map. And it came from kind of an accident. We had a couple of parallel streams happening where my team and our information architect, we were working on our taxonomy. As our own exercise, we were trying to say, well, what metadata tags do we want? And at the same time, user research was doing kind of a study of all the canonical tasks that an admin would do in the product. And what we found when we started talking and when Katie came in to kind of bridge our function is that we were really speaking the same language, like the structures of the tasks and our taxonomy and our content for our help were already pretty much the same. And so we decided, well, why don't we structure this thing and provide it to customers?
Lo and behold, that's what we did. So as I quickly explained in the beginning, the way that we've actually structured this is really based on the product journey. So along the map along the top, we're really showing the business journey to help the user navigate by their intent. So what do I want to do? And what am I, as opposed to who am I? We really kind of abstracted out the persona and let them focus really on the actions they wanted to take. And that's, as I said, we're really implying that persona as a result and letting the user define their identity on their own without having to actually impose any bias on them.
And without needing to know our technical language about our features, which might be inflected by marketing and might not be intuitive.
And within content, we did that at kind of the business journey level, and we also took that to the content level as well. We grouped the assets that we were referencing by the user's goal in that kind of activity space. Again, not the role or the type of content that might be more technical or outside of the user's self-identification. And then lastly, we made sure to include all sorts of different types of content or that kind of rolled up into each of those buckets. So the user could really choose to learn based on the best type of content we could provide, not a certain type of content. And really the best type of content for them from our case, that could be a trail, which is a much more long form learning module, or documentation, or watching a video.
Yeah, and this kind of turns the standard categorization on its head. Like you oftentimes the portals are divided up according to who you are. So you have the developer.salesforce.com, you have admin communities, you have kind of end user stuff in the app. And what we found is that people really they're not great at self-identifying. They say, oh, no, I'm not an admin, I just do admin work, right? In Salesforce, we call that the accidental admin. Or they have the administrator who's really learning some of the platform, they would never call themselves a developer, so they're scared off from going to developer.salesforce.com, but what they really need is there. So instead of solving the platform problem, portal problem, we build this map that kind of connects all those experiences. So summary, we learned a lot and we experimented.
A lot.
Yeah, and we kind of put that out in just a matter of months. We didn't do it the best possible scalable way. We did a quick app and we learned from it. We usage, but a few content side things that we did learn is that, you know, this learning map is not meant to be an index. It's not really about the content. Like a TOC is a map of the content, but this is a map of the business journey. So what we quickly discovered is we can't try to include links to everything. We have to just include entry points to everything. And that means that you have to have good content structure. If you link to a parent entry point and down into the lower level details, that makes navigation a lot easier. But if you try to include everything, you might as well use Google.
And we also learned that this idea of kind of abstracting out the persona was really important. So we really, you know, positive reinforcement for not trying to force our customers into these role and feature pigeonholes. And instead, we really let our customers navigate by their own intent and their business journey as they defined it. And this opened up a lot of doors for us, especially as we looked at all of this real landscape of our customers, big, small, cross industries. Type of flexibility really made our learning map accessible to everyone and anyone within those orgs.
Yeah, and finally, this wasn't just a pull together of our existing content and putting this journey forward. It came with some real understanding and research. It was cross-functional necessarily. We weren't just guessing what our customers wanted. We did our homework. We did user research. We interviewed a bunch of users. We did a pretty deep study of our own content and the gaps, and we pulled it all together into a structure that is really about what we feel that customers need, not what we have, not just what we have, and not just what we're guessing that they need. So it gave us really a structure, a framework that we can our content strategy on. It started from our text in a list of tasks, and it turned into this asset. But what we really have now is a structure that we can look across our content and do an audit, identify gaps for those people, you know, the intent and the roles that are implied, and fill those gaps over time. And that's it.
A couple of questions came in.
Okay.
One of them is, how do you get feedback from your customers?
Two ways. We did a couple of, excuse me?
It's, so the research part, yes, but like what about after the redesign? Like how did you get feedback after the redesign?
So we did a lot. We worked closely with our UX research team. So we were constantly getting feedback from customers on each design that we rolled out. So not just before developing it, but as we released new iterations along the way. We basically put it in front of customers at every customer advisory board. We actually included a link in the footer that is a feedback link so that customers and users could actually submit feedback or requests for content in the map, you know, ad hoc as well.
Yeah, and we iterate on the design and the content pretty much every release, so that we've kind of built from the quick thing that we put out there through the feedback and the metrics analysis as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much for answering those questions, and thanks for that presentation. I know that I personally was nodding when you talked about a lot of the issues that you ran into and the research you had to do and what it took to get there. So I found it personally very, very helpful. So thank you so much for presenting that. That was wonderful.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks.
Next up, we have IEEE, the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, Janet Dudar and Bonnie Nani. They received an award of distinction as well as Best of Show in our regional competition. So IEEE Pulse is a tech periodical that regular folks can read. in 2016, 2017, IEEE Pulse, which is the entry that won, they also received the Best of Show at the regional competition. So this entry of theirs is quite awardable. So anyways, it's this year's Best of Show, and it's awarded distinction. But also, on a personal note, I have to say that I think it's really cool that another professional organization enters into our professional organizations competition. I think it's a nice combination of professional organizations and working together. So Janet Dudar and Bonnie Nani, if you'd like to present, go right ahead.
Okay, thank you, Julie. This is Janet Dudar, and I will be presenting with Bonnie Nani, and I will share my screen shortly. Can everyone see the screen?
See it?
Very good. Thank you. So as Julie mentioned, IEEE Pulse did an outstanding job of entering into this contest and winning awards. And I would like to thank you for the opportunity to discuss IEEE Pulse magazine. The team members that are listed on this slide participated in the Society for Technical Communications competition.
Janet, we don't see your slide. I do see your screen, just not your slide. I'm sorry for giving you wrong information. You might have to share content,
right, exactly.
and then select that slide. Sorry about that.
Exactly.
Okay. Your content?
That's right. And then you just select the content that you want to share, those screens. Yeah.
Okay.
Should be screen one, I'm guessing. See it.
Okay. Oh, good. Thank you. Anyway, so the team members that are listed on this slide participated in the Society for Technical Communications competition for the award-winning issues. And that team consists of a managing editor, a senior art director, associate art director, and a senior electronic layout specialist, which is Bonnie Nani, who's presenting also with me today. A little about our department. It's a small team that works with different engineering societies to create their magazines. The editor-in-chief is a volunteer engineer in their specific field of interest who works behind the scenes with the society publication board members. Material is submitted to our in-house editorial staff, where we take over the process of compiling information to form the magazine. The managing editors are the liaison to the society and the department staff. There are many societies with IEEE which cover topics in electronics, electrical engineering, and computer science. Bonnie and I will be alternating in presenting our slides, so here is Bonnie. Okay.
Okay, I wanted to share a little bit about IEEE. IEEE is the world's largest technical professional organization for the advancement of technology. IEEE and its members inspire a global community to innovate through highly cited publications, conferences, technology standards, and professional and educational activities. We are the trusted voice for engineering, computing, and technology information around the globe. Within the IEEE, we publish approximately 200 different periodicals, which include transactions, journals, magazines, Proceedings, IEEE Spectrum Magazine, and the Institute. We also produce an open access journal through IEEE Access.
So the magazine, IEEE Engineering and Medicine Biology Society, is the group that is involved with this publication. Their mission statement, the Engineering and Medicine and Biology Society of the IEEE advances the application of engineering sciences and technology to medicine and biology, promotes the profession, and provides global leadership for the benefit of its members and humanity by disseminating knowledge, setting standards, fostering professional development, and recognizing excellence. We are proud as a design team to help promote this mission of the EMB Society. Our use of color, selection of artwork, and overall layout promotes the ideas found in the text. We think about the photos selected, the diagrams that are used, and the position of the elements in every feature, cut, part, and part.
Okay, so what is Pulse? Pulse is the magazine of the IEEE Engineering in Medicine and Biology Society, or EMB. What was the intention behind the Society magazine? The Society wanted to produce a magazine that would be reader-friendly. By being less technical, the goal was to appeal to a wider audience. The design was done completely in-house. The actual design of the magazine, besides the covers here. When we're doing a design, we usually present 2 different designs to the editor-in-chief and to the society to review. Our senior art director, Janet, and associate art director, Gail Schnitzer, are the designers. Once the design is approved, templates are created, and additional art staff jumps on board. That would be me. Mm-hmm. We use the latest version of Adobe CC Creative Suite. We do our layout in InDesign, and we also use Illustrator and Photoshop for any art creation. We combine images to illustrate concepts, and when necessary, we color correct images that might be supplied by the author.
So how does the magazine come together? The issues are planned by the Society Editor-in-Chief. We have articles written by professionals in the field, and our staff managing editor polishes articles for clarity and style. The editor-in-chief, managing editor, and senior art director collaborate in the discussion for what we're using for art, for features, and for covers. And then the design team creates openers and layouts for those features and departments. And what you see on screen is a sample of a feature spread for one of the award-winning magazine issues.
Okay, so what kind of topics do we cover? Breakthroughs in medical materials and devices, improvements in biological imaging and implants, artificial intelligence and robotics production, tech to improve healthcare in developing countries, genetic engineering and bioethics, cyber healthcare and medical development. Just to name a few.
In this particular slide, we show the topic of nuclear medicine, and within that specific issue, we covered nuclear imaging, post-stroke therapies, curing disease via genetic sequencing, treating illnesses following natural disasters, researching Alzheimer's disease, the opioid addiction treatment, and new methods for medical problem solving. So many issues cover single topics for Pulse Magazine, and they are emerging in scope for present and future fields of biomedicine. We also highlight the inventor or the technician who is actively involved in their given field. We utilize supplied images from the author that usually showcases them in their environment at work.
What additional content do we have, you ask? Technology surveys, reports on breakthroughs, historical information, and also a variety of issue topics. Sometimes we have opinion pages, and that's when personal experiences in the field are shared.
So we're at the end of our presentation, and we appreciate the opportunity to show you our award-winning publication, and we thank the judges and STC chapters for this recognition. That is
Thank
the
you
end.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. It was lovely seeing your winning entry. I really like that your publication a lot because, like we were saying, it's real people can understand it and read it. It's really interesting and it's very visually appealing. So it's really nice. So thank you so much for sharing that.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Next up, Carolyn. Would you like to introduce next presenter?
We asked that one question, how do you find the writers for the articles?
Didn't see it, thanks.
So what happens is a lot of the authors are people that are actually in the field. So the editor-in-chief and also the supporting staff for the magazine, the associate editors, which are also volunteers, are usually going out into the field and contacting a lot of those people. And they do occasionally hire freelance journalists to do some work as well. So it's mostly the contacts that they make with the people that are associated with the magazine and to fellow readers.
Very much for answering that. And with that extra information, we'd like to move on to our next entry, which is from the Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology. Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology is a state-chartered magnet school in Alexandria, Virginia, which is part of Fairfax County. The school is the #1 public high school in Virginia and the #4 public high school in the country, according to the most recent ranking by U.S. News and World Report. As a result, the students are exceptional and, not surprisingly, performing well on an entrance exam is required for admission. Thomas Jefferson has a unique research program consisting of specialized research laboratories, a mentorship program, and an annual research symposium. Student research papers presented through this research program may eventually be published in TEKNOS, Jefferson Science Journal, which showcases student articles, papers, and editorials. Available at teknos.org, that's teknos.org, but the TEKNOS student editorial team entered it into the STC Washington, D.C. Baltimore chapter's competition last year as a full-color bound magazine. Although the quality of the printing was high, the D.C. Baltimore judges did not consider the publication method in their judging. They focused instead on the standards for the competition. The TEKNOS student editorial team, with the support of their faculty sponsor, have been entering the D.C. Baltimore chapter competition for at least 10 years, changing through the years as they graduate and are replaced by others. After many years of participation, during which the editorial team honed their craft and carefully considered comments from our judges, TEKNOS received not only an award of Distinguished Technical Communication, but also Best of Show in the DC Baltimore chapter competition earlier this year. A photo of last year's team holding their award at our award celebration is on the event page for tonight's event. Congratulations, TEKNOS team. Speaking with us this evening are members of the editorial team, which include Isabelle Deng, Sean Latif, Sahana Ramesh, and Karen Song. Also joining us is Dr. Shane Torbert, the team's faculty sponsor last year. The team's new sponsor this fall is Paul Kosek, and he is listening along with the rest of us. So take it away, students. Unmute yourselves.
Hello?
Hi there.
We see
Hear me?
you.
Yes, I can hear you, Isabelle.
Okay, excellent. So Isabelle and I are not in the same place right now, just to give everybody a heads up. This is Paul Kosek. I'm going to say thank you for that excellent introduction, and I'll pass this over to Isabelle.
Awesome, thank you so much. Well, in that case, let me share my screen and get the presentation started. Can you see the screen right now?
Not yet, Isabelle. I do see some flashing red little lights, but perhaps you need to go to share content, then at the share menu at the top, and then share content, and then select your screen with the presentation on it. I haven't already done so. Okay. I think it's starting to work. Yes, you're good. You're good, Isabelle. Go ahead.
Awesome, thank you. So first, I'd love to thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about TEKNOS Science Journal today. We really appreciate the support we've gotten from the judges, the Baltimore and the DC chapter. So unfortunately, the other officers of TEKNOS could not be here today, so I'll just be me giving the presentation. So let's get started. So first, thank you so much for the introduction to TEKNOS. So as like a general reminder, we are a publication run by TJ students. So we have 8 senior research laboratories, but outside of that, our students also conduct research like far before senior year. So although we do publish a lot of senior research in our journal, we also do have jump lab research that includes students from all years at high school, as well as independent research from outside of school. So TEKNOS is an annual print publication, but we also do have 2 other branches. So first, we have a podcast where we interview students and teachers about their research and their experiences working at TJ and conducting research. And then second, we also have our website. Thank you for giving the URL, where we publish our past research that we have published in the TEKNOS print journal, as well as editorials from students, as well as articles in digital magazines. So, if you look at our mission statement, so essentially our aim is to make our work that we do as conducting students readable and understandable to the general public. And what I mean is that we conduct research across a wide range of disciplines. We have a robotics lab, we have a lovely mobile and web lab. We have that ranging all the way from chemistry to biotechnology. Our students love to learn. However, because we're not experts in every field, it is important for us to be able to still understand the other students' research in a readable way. So as a result, what TEKNOS does is that we, students will submit these research papers. In addition to submitting more traditional research papers that have an abstract, background, conclusion, we also let students submit the more general abstract articles, which is like a briefer summary of the research. So if you look to the next page, this is a sample of our work from the award, the Best of Show magazine, which was the year 2017-2018. As you can see in this one, this paper, it's quite formal. It's a very long paper about a mathematical theory. I'm not a math student, so I can't claim to understand it. But what TEKNOS does is that we try our best to polish the papers that students submit in a way that is readable and accessible to the larger public. This may include other students, teachers, and parents. So as you can see here, what we do is that we will take the entire paper and then although that students, they submit in maybe perhaps slightly variations of the traditional research paper format, we will try to standardize it so that it has a general understandable format for all readers. If you look here to the next slide, we have another different sample, but as you can see here, this one's more stylistic. Although yes, we are judged considering on our content, we also do believe it's important to have a certain artistic touch to it, to have it more design elements that are more visually appealing to readers. So if you look at this piece, it's a more general abstract article. And this is a summary of a student's research in their research lab, which is oceanography. First, you may note that the last paper that I showed you on the previous slide, I believe was about 10 pages in length, whereas this one is very simple, summarized in two pages. What we do is that, as you see here, our students is completely student run, but we also do have lovely sponsor guidance and sponsorship. And what we do is that we meet once a week for about 2 hours at a time. One of our primary challenges is being able to capitalize and essentially make our 2 hours worth it. Although we do work it from home, we also believe it's important to work with each other while we have that time together so that we can all contribute and make sure that we are operating and we're revising these papers on the same guidance and standards so that it's readable for all people. We use Adobe InDesign for the to format this, and challenges actually that we encountered with Adobe InDesign when it comes to implementing graphs and especially mathematical equations. If you look to the right side of the PowerPoint, I included some samples of the equations that we input into the past paper from a couple slides ago. And we initially had issues because the PPI, or basically the image quality, was initially too. We realized that it's going to be unreadable to the general user. And so for us, it was really important to be able to make it have that degree of clarity. So what we did is that we developed a primitive extension for Adobe InDesign, which one of our lovely friends coded for us. And using that, we were able to clearly input this so that had a minimum PPI of at least 300. So that way it had high printing quality. So I've talked a little bit about our content. I would also like to talk more about our team and how we get this done. So our team consists of an editor-in-chief, and editor-in-chiefs essentially oversee the entire thing. We make the final decision in choosing, revising papers, and approving them for publication. But along with that, we also have associate editors, a chief financial officer, and a chief technological officer. Altogether, what we do is that, because it's a student-run organization, there's a lot of different facets that go into it. So first of all, we have to have a fully functioning staff team of around 10 to 20 people on a good year. And together, the very first thing we teach them is the elements of style. The challenge we have is that I can claim for most of our team to be able to understand chemistry papers or physics papers. What we do is that we've honed in our ability to quickly research and gain a rudimentary background in this specific paper so that we can edit it as well, not just for grammar, but also to make sure that the way they're communicating these specific topics is clear. Because just if you only edit it for like grammar or for other like active voice, passive voice, that is good, but we also try to train our people to have understanding of the content so that they can have a more basic level of editing and revising. So I talked a little bit about the challenges in our content, but I'd also like to talk a little bit about our challenges we encountered when facing sponsorships and also starting up the magazine. So TEKNOS was actually started in 1989. So we're now on we just had our 30th anniversary this year. But it wasn't until very recently, actually, that we tried to kick off TEKNOS and have it become a more full-scale publication. So the challenges we encountered in that was, first of all, garnering funding. So for us, we were very lucky in that we were able to have sponsorships in the early years. And moving on from that, we were also able to get this from our school in order to showcase our student research. Now, through saving our budget and also doing like various fundraisers throughout the school year to raise additional money, we've been able to create like a little nest to fall back on so that we have enough money to, for example, supply Adobe InDesign to all of our staff editors to ensure that they can all go to the necessary conferences to gain more experience in journal editing and revising and so on.
Hey, Isabelle, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
So
Just
I
wanted to
talked a little bit about our tools and processes.
Oh, yeah, okay. We're good. I just want to make sure that your slide is what you meant it to be on. Tools and process, right?
Sorry.
Okay, just making sure. Okay, very good, all good.
Sorry. So I think that one of the things that's most critical to us was getting feedback, and we really appreciate the comments that we've gotten from the Society for Technical Communication throughout the years. It's really helped us to improve and to see what our services already are. So that way, it's always a dynamic process of public sizing this stuff every single year. Besides that, we also do submit our journal for critiques from in a number of other competitions. And we always have a good combination of one, having critiques for our visual elements. So if we have issues with perhaps how we display our charts, if they could be maybe in a better format, that would be nice to hear. And then we also have verbal critiques. These are equally as important because for us, especially because we train our readers to do more in-depth research into the topics and the papers that they're assigned, by the end of the research and revision process, they often have a diminished understanding of what like the everyday man or the general public's base understanding of the content is. So being able to have this critique from the outside sources is really important. So with that, I'd like to say a giant thank you to the team. So as you see on this slide, this is all the people who've been involved with the publication of TEKNOS throughout the past 2 to 3 years. And it's a really great journey because I said before, we're always changing, we're always learning, and hopefully we're always learning and changing for the better. And I like to say that the Society for Technical Communication, its local chapter, as well as its judges, has been a great help in that. With that, I'd like to say thank you so much.
Wonderful, Isabella. Thank you so much. My only question, maybe other people have questions, can think of one. When you have the printed journal, do people get subscriptions to those, or do you only print, a small number of them, or?
So actually, what I really appreciate is that we have a great rapport with our TJ publication team for the student yearbook, as well as like the general newspaper. So our TEKNOS, we print, I want to say around 1,000 to 2,000 copies every year. And basically, when you buy the yearbook, it comes in a bundle with that.
I see. We have another question. What extension do you use for math?
So like I said before, it is an in-house code, but GitHub for it, I'd be happy to share.
Install that onto that. You get the GitHub code and you install it as a separate program?
Too much of a program, so I'd have to check this up. So yes.
Yeah, so yeah, that's okay. So a community contributed math extension is the answer to Janet, I think, and then we can try to get more information about that separately. Okay, I'll hand it back. Unless anyone else has any questions, I'd like to hand it back to Julie. It was just wonderful to hear from you, Isabella. Thank you so much for coming late at night to make this presentation to us. I know you have a busy early morning, most likely. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I do. There is one
Thank you.
question in the chat.
That was fantastic. Thank you. So interesting and very well presented. Thank you for that.
They asked, have graduates joined the STC? Well, I must say that I have personally marked Isabella as our future president of our chapters. This is going to happen one day, Isabella.
If I had a vote, I would so vote for her.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes, let's just say we encourage it.
The STC is lovely.
So next we have from SS&C Advent, Tim Schuman is going to present supporting MiFID II regulations. So I just want to, if I may editorialize for just a moment, I haven't seen this entry, but I'm really keen to see it because my company also had to deal with MiFID II regulations last year, and pretty much we had many people running around like crazy with a lot of time pressure, and because it's obviously regulations, there's a lot of serious attention being paid to every detail and making sure that all the right information got out to the right people in the right way. So I'm very curious to see, Tim, your entry and what you have to say about it and how you put it together. Just so everybody else knows, Tim is a principal technical writer and content strategist at SS&C Advent Software. He provides documentation including health systems, user manuals, quick reference guides, and training materials for financial management systems. And additionally, as if that's not enough, he helps manage content on SS&C Advent's client-only website, Advent Community. So Tim, take it away.
Hi, well, thank you for that introduction. Can you hear me? And can you see my screen?
Yes.
Can see your screen. We can see the
Great.
first slide. All good.
So I'll just begin by, my name is Tim Schuman. I'm a tech writer at SS&C Advent, and I'll just begin by introducing our company and a bit about the project that led to this manual. So SS&C Advent provides software for investment management organizations. Among our offerings is a suite of products for asset managers that includes two of our flagship products, Advent Portfolio Exchange, or also known as APX, and Moxie. So APX is a portfolio and client management solution, and Moxie is a solution for making and executing trade decisions. And as you can see from the illustration, the two work closely together. So Moxie imports position and security data from APX, and then exports back executions and allocations to keep the systems in sync. So the issue is that back in 2018,
do you have something on top of the MiFID II regulation slide that you have up? Like, do you have maybe a chat box or something up? Because we're seeing kind of a big gray box over the slide.
The web thing, is it gone now?
Still there. Not sure why. Not sure to reshow the content or remove chat box or what. It's kind of covering where it says updated from markets, maybe? Something markets. On the top line, it goes from there to the top of your slide. It's a minor infraction. So if you can't, no, we still see it. Not sure why.
I think it's coming from the webinar.
Okay.
Yeah, it's likely a residual.
Sure. We can pretty much see. It's all good. It's all good.
Okay. Sorry about that. Back in 2018, the European Union released the updated Markets and Financial Instruments Directive, also known as MiFID II. This was to ensure fair, safe, and efficient markets. Because our clients are worldwide and many deal with the European Union entities, they needed to prepare for these changes and make sure that they were reporting all the required information to their competent authority, the competent authority being any person or entity that is legally invested to monitor compliance. So a little bit about our clients. So our clients are worldwide, and they have a good working knowledge of the financial industry and trading practices. So we can pretty much assume that they have a good amount of familiarity with financial concepts and terms, which helps us a lot as we're writing about these complex solutions. For the most part, these clients were aware of the MiFID update, and in fact, some of them are probably already preparing their firms for the changes. And our clients really needed to understand how to use our products to help them conform to the MiFID reporting regulations. And finally, our support representatives also needed our documentation because they help clients who need assistance setting this up. So here at Advent, we are a technical communication department of 11 writers, and we use the Adobe Technical Communications Suite, and we have for many, many years. The majority of our documentation takes the form of help, with each product has its own dedicated help system. We also offer some documents as PDFs, such as installation, developer, and quick reference guides. Help and documentation is then stored in and provided to clients through our client-only website, Advent Community. On Community, clients get this rich offering of our documentation, knowledge-based articles, training, discussions, etc. And really, it's when they do a search, when they ask a question, they get back results from all these different areas to help them answer the question. So to create the help, we use RoboHelp, and we compile in XHTML, and we write our documents in unstructured FrameMaker that we then save as PDF. So because preparing for MiFID regulations touched on multiple products, we opted to begin by offering a single PDF so clients could easily work through the entire preparation workflow. And then once the guide was complete, we then moved product-specific information into each product's help system. So the challenge on this project was that preparing to use our products to comply to these regulations required a complex series of steps. Clients had to install updates that we call hotfixes. They had to decide one or two of the two reporting options. So although each report output an XML file to send to the CA, the choice depended on whether a firm was reporting on its own or using a third party to manage the compliance. The other issues was that these changes were backported to earlier releases. For our products are giant products that for firms, it's hard for firms to upgrade on a regular basis. And because they're financial institutions, they really need to prepare for upgrades and do a lot. So we had to backport these changes to these earlier releases. And because of our development structure and our time, we couldn't put every feature in every backported release. And finally, the new information that they needed to report on was added throughout both products in the appropriate places. So you can see in the illustration there that these fields were being added in at all different places throughout the applications. So it was complex. So to deal with the complex installation, we broke the guide up into separate distinct chapters for each process. We had introductory information, installing the hotfixes and updating your system, defining the data in the products, and how to run the reports. And you can see that in the introductory chapter, we had to give them information that they needed to set up prior to installing the upgrades to our systems, and also that they really needed to understand what was being supported in each of the releases, depending on what release they had installed. So some of the things that we did to try to help clients get through this process easily was that we added a lot of checklists throughout the manual to help them stay on track as they progressed. So in the main checklist there was at the very beginning, and it not only did it help them understand the process they were going to go through, but it also helped them to identify how much effort was involved for their firm. And then when one of the main tasks required several subtasks, we added those checklists, additional checklists throughout the guide to try to help them stay on the track of upgrading. And some of the other things we did to ensure success is we constantly provided checkpoints, important notes and things that we tried to use sparingly to always make sure that they were installing what they were supposed to be installing, depending on what products they were using and depending on what report they were going to choose, that they were installing all the correct information. And the other thing that we did was after each procedure, we included a list of next steps so that we keep them going to help them move forward. And finally, and because most clients were already familiar with where the data was stored in each of these products, we added detailed steps and callouts to point out where the new fields were added within each product. So while our clients may have been familiar with the upcoming MiFID II changes, and they probably were already beginning to prepare their firms for the regulations, they may not have been aware of the extent of the reporting obligations. So the updates tripled the number of reportable fields from 26 to 65. So some of the newer fields included data that APX and Moxie did not historically track. So hence the addition of all the new fields within each product. So this is our opportunity to really help clients understand the new fields by providing an easy-to-scan table that explained all 65 fields. The table helps them understand each field and some possible values that are expected so they know that they're getting the right information. And it shows them the XML tag where the output, it shows them what XML tag in the output holds the information so that they can go to that XML file and if they have to investigate or troubleshoot any issues. And most importantly, it shows where in Moxie the data is stored so that if they are having any issues, they know where to go back into the application to make sure that that data is appropriately filled in. And the other thing that was really quite evident to us as we were beginning to help clients prepare for this is that it was going to take some back and forth. I mean, this was quite an extensive change for some firms. And it would take a few iterations of these reports going back and forth between the CA for the clients to meet compliance successfully. So when the client sends the report to the XML file to their CA, they get back a feedback file, which they can then import into Moxie to troubleshoot errors that were encountered. And again, we tried to provide a very easy to scan reference table of each error code with a description of the error and more importantly, the steps that they could take to solve these problems. So you may notice, if you can see this, that some of these issues required clients to call support. So this is a good indication that we are learning from our clients and updating the guides as new information becomes available. So this document we are still updating as when we learn more information. And just this September, the EU released an update to the XML schema that we needed to address, and we needed to alert clients to the change. So how we adapted our software to accommodate for those changes. So in closing, I just want to say that this was obviously took more than one writer to produce. While I document the order management side with Moxie, Kayla Kinnaman and Colleen Dalton both were instrumental in documenting the APX side of the process. Because our products work together in a suite, we are often working together collaboratively as a group, and it's one of the benefits of working at Advent is a great team of writers who work well together. So thanks for taking the time to listen, and thanks to the STC for the award. And are there any questions?
And we're in the chat box. Does anybody want to unmute and ask a question of Tim? Okay, Tim, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. I recognized a lot of what you had to say, so that was really helpful for me. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Malu, would you like to introduce the next speaker?
Same question as Bobby. Do you localize, Tim?
Do you mean for, we do not at this moment. It is something that we bring up on a regular basis, but no, at this moment we do not.
Oh, there was a question also about the source documents for the checklist.
The source documents for the checklist were coming from the CAs and the competent authorities, and from the EU and from the MiFID requirements.
All of our questions?
Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, all. All right, Malu, would you like to introduce the next speaker?
Hello?
Should I just start? This is Mike.
Goodness. Hi, Mike. Hey, Malu, are you going to introduce Mike? Are you there? Uh-oh. Maybe Malu disappeared. She's ready to introduce myself.
Hello?
There you go. We can hear you.
Hey, Julie.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Mike is the documentation and training manager for KVH Industries. And this is not the first time we're seeing Mike. He has over 30 regional and international awards from the STC. So that's a really big number. He's also presenting at DevLearn, by the way, for those of you who are DevLearn enthusiasts. He'll be there presenting at DemoFest. So we're looking forward to you coming out with big awards from that conference too. Mike is also a member of the Competition Council, which is a council for the regional competition with and a representative of the New England chapter. So he does a lot more work in the background as a judge and as a person who's planning the competition throughout the year. So without much ado, I think you'll enjoy this next instructional video presentation from Mike. Take it away, Mike.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. I've never used this before, so.
It's exciting.
Screen 1 or screen 2?
Probably screen 1. There should be a little thumbnail of what you're seeing on it.
Oh. Okay.
We see slides.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Nice.
So, quick intro about me. Thank you for the intro, Mamalu. Pretty much covered this. I do all the manuals, me and one assistant, do the help systems, tutorials, do e-learning courses for our global technicians, and I also, I'm also the administrator for the learning management system. I've been with KVH for quite some time. Started as a associate technical writer, and I'm now the doc manager and training manager. And a little bit about KVH. They basically do lots of high-tech antennas for mobile customers. So that's not just ships at sea, but it's also for RVs, super yachts, and even fishing boats. And if you're mobile, you can get an antenna to get either satellite TV or internet while you're moving. They also build fiber optic gyroscopes, military navigation systems, anything that has to do with mobile, they're into. The product we're going to be talking about is this TracPhone antenna line of antennas, and they provide internet to ships at sea globally. So the business need of this video was, as you can see from this picture, I'm going to minimize something here. That's hiding things. Okay. As you can see from this picture, there's this antenna here on this pedestal, this kind of rust-looking pedestal. So this dome is getting blocked by all this other stuff on the vessel because it needs to see the satellite. If it's pointing in this, you can't see my pointer, I don't think, but I'm pointing at all this other stuff like a radar. And, oh, you can see my pointer?
See your pointer, yes.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, so the antenna can't see through all this stuff in order to see the satellite, in order to communicate with the satellite to get internet connectivity, if it has to see the satellite in this direction. So if it's trying to do that and it's stuck trying to communicate this way, it's going to get a service interruption and the customer will be upset and we won't get the airtime revenue. So we have we have other satellites, covering the same areas. So it could switch to another satellite if it knew there was blockage here. And that's why we have this feature called tracking avoidance zones, but they have to be set up. Unfortunately, our technicians weren't always setting them up at the time of installation, even though it was in the manual. So we needed to address this problem. And why isn't this working? Oh, sorry. So we decided to come up with a video, and the audience of the video are technicians who install the antennas and customers who are out in the field who are experiencing blockage issues like this that don't have the zone set up in their antenna. And got dual purpose to kind of stress to our technicians that they need to set these up and why it's important, and also educate the customers about blockage, first of all, because they may not know that things on their ship might block the signal, and also how to set up the blockage zones. So that's why it's purpose. So my strategy for this video was, of course, to keep it short. 5 minutes is, even 5 minutes is kind of long, but there's a lot to cover here. But the shorter the better. Use some simple animations for the technical concepts, like what is blockage, how does the antenna move, and how the tracking avoidance zone feature works. So I wanted to use some simple, line drawing animations to, bring that home. And I also wanted to show actually how to set up the tracking avoidance zones using the antenna's web interface. So I wanted to do some screen recording to actually show how that's done. And I wanted to show lots of examples of blockage so that customers and installers can see, probably in all the examples that I show, they'll probably see something that matches up with their situation on their vessel if they have blockage, and makes the video relevant to them. And also, you don't want a video that has any time standing still. You want it in constant motion to hold the viewer's interest. So that was my strategy in this video. The first step that I took was to come up with the outline. So basically, I wanted to lay out everything I wanted to cover and how I was going, what I was going to show on the screen when I'm covering that those key points. So basically, this was a few pages. I also, at the end, I included all the different blockage photos I wanted to include in my video, and I sent this kind of a outline document to all the stakeholders to make sure they were good with it before I proceeded, because it's very easy to make changes to a Word document, but it's extremely difficult to make changes to a video at the end, once it's done. Way easier to make changes here at the early stage. So the next step was I wrote the script based on the content. I wrote the script, and this was for the narration part of it. And then I sent this out again to the same stakeholders and make sure they were good with how I was, the words I used to describe the process. And once I got approval on the script, then I could move on and actually create the video. So to build the video, I used all these tools. The main tool I used was Camtasia, and I use this all the time for videos, little tutorials on how to do something on screen. We also use it for some simple, full motion videos where we can put some effects on top of it, and it's a great tool. I really love it. It's cheap and easy to use. We have the whole Adobe suite. I used Illustrator and Photoshop to work with images and vector graphics. And I also learned how to use Animate for the first time. And I have to, hold on 1 second, I have to tell a cleaner outside who's about to do some vacuuming. Please not vacuum this area.
Area.
Sorry about that, folks. It's cleaning time in the office, and they're about to vacuum outside. So that would be very bad for us. Okay, moving on. Murphy's Law. So I learned Animate through LinkedIn Learning because I want to do some animations, and I use Word for the script. So here's some of the some screenshots of the animations I built. Let's see. Basically, these are two different animations, but they kind of have the, I kind of reuse the same, I reused this one to build this one. So a lot of the same stuff I was able to reuse. And to simulate motion, all I did was move this background from this side to the other with the clouds, from this off the stage on the right to the left. So it looked like the vessel was moving. And on this one, I just made these lines, kind of fade out. There's like 3 lines that would kind of pulse out, so it looked like it was awake. So just simple ways to simulate motion. And I made a couple looping GIFs to show antenna motion. And I also used these in some training courses. They were pretty useful to use in all different antenna courses. So lots of reuse. Like I said earlier, lots of photos of blockage examples. These are just some examples of them. And I also used a few stock photos from, I'm a I've got a subscription to eLearning Brothers, so they got a lot of stock photos in there. And like I said earlier, I had to record the process of setting up a tracking avoidance zone. And here's when you click here, and then it opens up this screen here. And then I overlay a photo of the example, and I set up the zone to match up with this example of these blockage conditions with these drawing effects in Camtasia. So in Camtasia, well, I'll show you the Camtasia project in a minute. Also use some stock videos. So these different videos I just grabbed from like eLearning Brothers or some other resource. Oh, the cleaners are coming after me. They're lurking outside. Anyway, yeah, so I grabbed some free videos just to make sure there's always something moving on the screen, because you don't want the user just be sitting there while I'm talking on a video. So here's all the content that I put into Camtasia to come up with the final video. And I guess I don't have to actually open up the real project, because this is a screenshot of all the different elements on the different tracks. Here's the narration, this is the header, and all of these boxes here are all the different elements on a timeline overlapping each other to come up with the final video. The hardest part of all this is timing all of these elements in the screen recording with the narration. That's the hardest part of doing the video, because you have to time it just right. And we delivered it numerous ways. First, we posted it on YouTube, and I can show you where that is in a minute once I'm done. We provided it in a link to, we sent out a bulletin reminding technicians about this feature, and we provided the link to it within the bulletin. We posted it on the LinkedIn group for our technicians. We included the video as part of our training course for these different products. It's also available to customers on the customer portal, as you can see here. And tech support has emailed a link to users and technicians as needed if somebody needed to set up a zone to block it, to clear out a blockage if they do that. So future improvements, I would have liked to include an actual video footage of installing the antenna, but all I had was a photo. But I do zoom in on the photo to have some movement, but it's very hard to get on a commercial ship to get permission to film on a commercial ship. But I'm still hoping to do that soon. But then I can replace the still image with some footage of somebody installing the antenna. And one thing that one of the judges from the competition suggested was providing a link to the actual help topic. So I thought that was a good idea. And I have to say, more than I've entered the competition for many years now, and while it's nice to receive awards, and I appreciate that, the feedback that you get from three different judges, three experts, has just been phenomenal over the years. I really, it's been such a huge benefit to me, especially when I was starting out as an associate tech writer. I really learned so much from their feedback, and also serving as a judge, learning from the other judges, and in the process of judging. I really have learned a lot from the competition, so it's really helped my career by leaps and bounds. So I really give a plus to the competition there. And I don't know if we have time to look at it. I can actually at least show you where it is.
Please do. Please do.
It probably won't run well over a webinar. Oh, it's very slow, but If you search, it's public, so if you search for tracking avoidance zone or KVH Industries, you'll find it. But I can run it if you like. This video explains how to
Sure.
I don't know if you can you hear
We
that?
can't see it. We can hear, but we can't see it. I think you're going to have
you
to
can't
change
see
the
it.
content that you're sharing. Yeah, you'll have to go back to the share button and change the content that you're sharing.
Okay, let me see how to do that. Okay, bear with me a second here. I gotta go back to the. Oh, here I am. So I stopped sharing, right? Or no?
We're seeing your slide presentation, but it's kind of grayed out right now. There you go. Now you've stopped. Now you've stopped sharing, and now you're about to share content again. This is looking good. Yes, we see your web browser now.
Okay.
Yes.
We see. Yeah. So title here, and you can, anybody can type that in there. But I can play it if you like.
How to set up tracking
Can you hear?
zones in your TRACPHone system to mitigate the #1 cause of service interruptions, blockage of the satellite signal.
I'll turn up.
Satellites in a mini-VSAT broadband network are located over 35,000 kilometers or 22,000 miles above the equator. To communicate with the satellite, the antenna must point its reflector at its precise location in the sky, and it must remain locked on it as the vessel moves. Therefore, in an ideal installation, the antenna has an unobstructed view of the sky in all directions. Satellite signals cannot penetrate solid objects. Anything that stands between the antenna and the satellite can potentially block or degrade the signal and interrupt service. Common causes of blockage include masts, antennas, and other structures. RF energy emitted by a radar or high-power radio can also degrade the signal. With a tracking avoidance zone setup, you prevent the antenna from pointing toward a known obstruction that is likely to cause marginal reception and poor performance. Instead, the antenna quickly switches to a different satellite, provided an alternative is available in your region. To set up a tracking avoidance zone, you need to access the system's web interface. With the computer connected to the network, open your web browser and enter minivsat.kbh, or the ICM's IP address. At the web interface, go to the Settings tab and select Tracking Avoidance Zones. Next, click Edit and enter your administrator password. Now enter the azimuth range to avoid relative to the bow. The range must span at least 5 degrees. Then enter the elevation range. Keep in mind that the elevation angle to the satellite will fluctuate with pitch and roll, so negative elevations are possible. Next, enable the zone and click Save Set. The zone is now set up. Let's run through some examples. This graph shows the relative strength of the satellite signal within the azimuth and elevation range of the antenna. You can clearly see something is interfering with the signal whenever the antenna points between 70 degrees and 125 degrees in azimuth. So we would set up a tracking avoidance zone to cover that area. Here's another example. This time, the obstruction is on the port side, between 250 and 270 degrees. Our tracking avoidance zone might look like this. Now consider this installation. We might want to set up 2 tracking avoidance zones, one for the radar and one for the spotlight. The lower height of the spotlight allows us to minimize that zone's elevation. The antenna can see over it. Once you've set up your zones, you have the option to change the time and zone setting. This is how long the antenna will be allowed to point within a zone while your vessel is turning. Based on the vessel's rate of turn, if the antenna will pass through a zone within the allotted time, it will stick with the current satellite. Before we close, please be aware that things outside the vessel can also interfere with satellite signals. For example, cranes at the dock, bridges, other vessels, and even severe weather. Although tracking avoidance zones can't possibly account for all cases of blockage, they can still make a huge difference in performance by avoiding the permanent blockage conditions on board that are most disruptive. But if there's too much blockage, you might consider moving the antenna to a better location. This concludes our video on tracking avoidance zones. To learn more, refer to the system's help. If you have any questions, please contact KVH Technical Support.
That's it.
That's fantastic. And just so you know, when you were giving your presentation and you were showing the slide with your timeline set, immediately 2 people at the same time put in the chat box, amazing, love your timeline shots. So, and then just so you know, also TJ posted the URL for your video for everybody to see in the chat box as well. So it was very well received. And we were all very impressed with how you put it together.
I'm home now, so I have to connect and stuff. Give me a sec.
Any questions at all or no? Can't see the chat.
Well done.
Thank you. And thank you to the competitions and the judges. Year after year, I've received great feedback. Never failed. I've submitted dozens of entries, and I've never been disappointed in the judges' comments.
Thank you for that. You're a great promoter, as Bobby says. So yes, thank you for that.
We can open up the questions to every presenter or whoever else is still around.
Right, if there are no questions, thank you very much, everyone, to our presenters and our attendees for participating this evening. I learned a lot from the various presentations, and I was encouraged to see that I've encountered some similar experiences to what other people have encountered, and how they surmounted it and how they worked on their projects was very interesting to me, and I'm guessing others on the call felt similarly. So thank you to all of the presenters, and thank you to the participants, and thank you for your patience. In the beginning of this call, I know we had some technical hiccups, but thank you for joining the WebEx and being able to participate after we made that little change to a new platform. And I will send out the recording as soon as we get that in.
And our competition is opening in a few days, the STC regional competition. So get your entries ready because it's happening again, and we hope you guys will think about putting in your best entries. Thank you.
And we will post the recording on the, thank you, Isabelle. We will post the recording on the website, and I'll send it out to the participants. Thanks. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Julie. Bye-bye.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Malu.
Malu, thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Thank you.